What's up Saab fans around the world, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to do part 2 of the Save a Saab project, and today we are mainly going to focus on the shifter linkage and the exhaust system. So when they are out of the way and while we have the car up on the jack stands, we are going to check that the xenon height sensors are okay and working. So let's start with removing the shifter linkage and fix that part. So this is the bushings that we are going to be installing. They are from Maptun Performance, and it's really nice brass bushings machined. And you also got a M8 replacement for the T40 Torx, and you got a set of tools to lock in the gearbox and the gear leveler. Let's start installing these parts. So to be able to access the shifter linkage from the engine bay, you don't need to lift up the car or anything, just have it standing on the ground. So remove the battery and the battery tray. Then the fuse box need to be unbolted and moved to the side a little bit. Then you are able to reach with your hand down, and there will be 3 10mm bolts that you need to undo and one 13mm nut that sits on the axle that's going into the shifter. That's pretty much everything you need to do to remove it. So we're gonna start with lock in the gear leveler inside the car. So you lift up this cover, and then there's a hole down here. So you put the leveler in 4th gear. And then you take your tool and simply it should go down a bit, so you might have to wiggle it a little bit. Like so. So now everything is removed, so we have access to the shifter linkage, and these videos are always hard to do because you are not able to see at all by yourself. But down here is the shifter linkage. And the T40 Torx screw sits right here on the blind side. So what we are going to need to do now is there's a little rubber thing that sits in the gearbox right here. Just pull that up and insert the tool. So I'm going to do that right now, but it's not easy to film it while I'm doing it. So it looks like this. Just pull it up and take your tool and insert it. So now you have the gearbox in 4th gear and the leveler in 4th gear. So if down here is the 13mm nut. I'm using a very long extension to take it from above, and then it's not super easy to see them, but here they are. So I'm sticking my hand in and taking them from the downside. So when you remove these, the 30mm nut, then you can just pull out the whole linkage. as it's not super easy to show you when it's in the car, I'm gonna do a quick rundown how this goes down. So it pretty much sits like this. Here is the axle going from the gearbox into the shifter linkage, and here goes the axle from the shifter leveler into the shifter linkage. So you undo this 30mm nut. You might have to pry this open a little bit, so like the clamp looses from the axle. The 3 10mm you don't have to undo. You could pull this off, but every time I have done this I have loosened them so I get the whole piece out. Then there's this T40 Torx. You need to get a real solid grip on this the first time you put it, because it's installed with a little bit of Loctite, and I have been dealing with some problems, and if you don't get a good grip the first time and you fuck this up, then you have a problem. So to undo this I have this little small 1/4 inch or with a T40 Torx that could adjust itself a little bit because it's real tight in there. So make sure I have a really good grip, and it might be turned like this, and then just pull in and down as hard as I can to loosen it the first time. And then when everything's out, you might run into some problem with this nut going from the axle. Then I just undo the tool inside of the car and push to 3rd gear, then it will come right off, and then you could put it back into 4th gear. So the bushings that we are going to change is these ones right here. That's plastic, and this doesn't sit at all. Usually bushings should be like press fit. This one's just, you could like, just by looking at them they will fall off. So there's quite a difference between these. So we're gonna install the new bushings and then it's good to go. As you can see, there's a little tab on the plastic down here, and that's where this part should go. Such a nice fit, just press fit it in, and likewise on the other side. Super nice, solid. So now we're gonna install this back in the car, and hopefully we got some gears. So now the linkage is back in the car, fully installed and tightened down. So now it's just to remove the locking tools and see if we have some gears and better precision in the gears. Still there's a little bit of adjustment to do because it's much more stiff now. 1st gear, 2nd, 3rd, it's super tight. Much better, but if you see, usually when I go into 5th I want to go as far away as possible and then up, but 5th is like there, so some adjustments. So Usually it's just to rotate the axle a little bit, because as of right now it feels like the gears are a little bit towards this way, so we need to move them this way. So the shifter linkage is done and the gears are feeling so much tighter. It's a awesome upgrade because it doesn't cost a lot, but it does a lot for the feeling of the car. The gearbox feels like brand new, and that's a good thing. So moving on, I'm really hyped about how the exhaust looks on this car, so let's jack it up and take a look. So the car is up in the air and we are going to jump to the exhaust in just a minute. I just checked out the xenon height sensors, and for the front one it's zip tied, so I got a new part for it. Maybe that helps. And for the rear one, guess what? It's zip tied too. So I'm going to change this one because I have a rear spare one, and hopefully that solves the problem. So as for the exhaust, you could see that it's really off. So I'm just going to replace this with a brand new flex pipe. Unfortunately, the camera didn't record when I was disassembling this flex pipe, but it's down at least. It's a little bit pain in the ass because the bolts is always really rusty, and in this case I had to cut them down with the angle grinder. So now it's down at least, so I'm gonna cut this right here and then weld on the new flex pipe. So the new flex pipe is mounted to the car. I have painted it with some black heat protectant to save it a little bit from rust on the welds. So now the exhaust should be pretty quiet compared to what it was before. So now we're gonna jump to the xenon sensors. And for the rear sensor, you can see that they have zip tied it here, and it's quite broken, and they have also zip tied the cover here, so let's remove this and replace with a new one. So now we are done with work underneath the car. We have fixed the front xenon sensor and replaced the rear one, and we have fixed the flex pipe, so the exhaust should be much quieter now. So I'm quickly going to throw on the winter tires on this car, put it back on the ground, and then we will do a test start to see if everything works. So let's see how this went. Still something indicating that the xenon lights isn't okay, but they moved a lot further than they did before. So we took some steps forward. So I'm going to try to start the car and see how it sounds. Much quieter. This is really nice. So of course the battery died on me, just my luck. But I have grinded down the rust, and this isn't bad at all. It's pretty solid. And the worst part is the other side, but this ain't either the worst I have seen. It's quite solid all the way. So I'm just gonna put on some black paint to make a pretty thick layer. I'm gonna use some brake caliper paint because it gets pretty hard and a little bit shine to the surface. So that's the best I can do right now. I don't want to push down a ton of money as of right now. I just want to fix the car so it could go back to the roads, and then I will leave the rest to the next owner. This is just a small side project to save a Saab. It's a great Saab. I think it looks amazing, and I'm super hyped to get this polished, to get the real effects from this paint. Right now it's super hazy, but it's an awesome metallic paint underneath this haze, so that will be amazing to see. But let's start to put on some paint. Sometimes, guys, I surprised myself. I didn't give up on the xenon sensors. I couldn't live with that fault, so I had to check out the front sensor. And when I removed the connector, I don't know if you could see this, but you could see that one pin is missing there. And when I remove the cable, pin number 5 is like off, or it wasn't connected enough. Now I have poked this a little bit to fix it, but this one is broken. So luckily enough, I had a spare one laying around that looks much better. And I have a pretty sketchy sensor, but I will try, and hopefully this solves the xenon problem. So I even turned down the light a little bit. Let's see if this did the trick. I hope so. Way! Success! Parking sensors out of function. Super nice. The car starts and runs like a champ. No failure codes, no nothing. Pretty decent mileage. And just 2 previous owners. So that's it, guys. What better way to end this episode than to have everything fixed. All the annoying lights are out, and that's the main thing. Soon this car will be back on the road in a better condition than it came into the garage. So next episode will be the full detailing of this car. It's very much needed. I hope you guys like this video. Please subscribe to my channel, it means a lot to me. And comment something if you are having any questions. And I will see you very soon again. Bye!